Hey there, friends. We're 1 week into the Trump administration, and let me show you this. This is the southern border under the Biden administration. And this is the southern border under the Trump administration. First, guys, please go check out my friends CMMG. They make some of the finest implements out there. This is a group of people that I've known for a little while now. Great leadership, great employees, great workers. Obviously, the craftsmanship is incredible on the implements that they build. But these guys, again, walk the walk. They don't just talk the talk. They are severe and very strong Second Amendment supporters, and I really, really respect that about them. Was a big fan of CMMG before I ever did any work with CMMG. Use my code FTATF at the website cmmg. Again, use my code FTATF for 10% off when you go to cmmg. Now, one thing that I wanted to address before I get into a lot of the stuff that's going to happen on the southern border is the lies again. You guys know that it's important to me to point out the lies of the mainstream legacy bought and paid for state-run media, right? NBC News trying to downplay and really just mocking the Trump administration regarding their deportation process had a headline that read, "Mexico refuses to accept a U.S. deportation flight. The Mexican government has criticized President Donald Trump's unilateral immigration actions, and the landing would have required Mexico's assistance." This is a lie. You know how I know it's a lie? Well, first of all, I've seen the pictures from Mexico where they're building these camps, again, in Mexico. This is not us. This is not the taxpayers in America paying for this. This is Mexico building facilities knowing that they are going to be forced to receive, get this, their own people back into their country. So I'm literally looking at you build facilities to receive them, and NBC is saying that you are refusing them. This, again, is a lie. Another reason why I know it's a lie, because White House officials have already confirmed to all the news outlets, including NBC, that just yesterday Mexico received 4 illegal alien deportation flights. Again, just yesterday alone. Mexico has also accepted tens of thousands of land returns on road and foot. And Guatemala also received at least 2 flights that I know of so far. Same thing, illegal aliens that entered this country illegally. Now, one question I have is, are these taxpayer-funded Crocs that these people are wearing? I mean, they're all wearing a different variation and color of Crocs. Is our federal government, these have got to be Biden Crocs, because obviously Trump hasn't been in there long enough to buy Crocs. I guess, I don't know, maybe Trump could have bought this many Crocs in 4 days, but I mean, are we really issuing state-funded Crocs to illegal aliens in order to send them back home? I guess they're at least sent back home in comfort in the event they do have to walk part of the way and don't get these cushy rides by the U.S. government and the taxpayers. But the point being, these people are being sent back. The media is going to do all they can to try to minimize the impact that this is going to have. They're going to. I've even seen some people saying that, oh, Biden released way more than what Trump is doing. Let me explain. It was a revolving door. When people left going from United States to Mexico, they weren't going because they were forced to go back. They went because they wanted to go back. You know how many of these migrants, and I say that, you guys know they're not migrating here. You know how many of them go back home regularly to bring their cash money back to their families and then just walk right back into the border? So by saying that you deported 300 a day, there's probably 2,000 a day coming right back in, which include the 300 that you deported yesterday because they dropped off their stash and they came back. So these are not remaining in Mexico. They're coming right back again. So it's a silly dynamic whenever you see people making this comparison that, oh, look how many Biden deported. Realize how many came in. That's the number you need to look at, not how many have been deported. Look at the numbers, how many came in illegally. That's going to be what's going to tell you a much truer picture, other than the lies and the moving the shell to hide the ball game that these people are always and constantly doing. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a very high-level rundown of a lot of the policies that the Trump administration is administering to protect our southern border. Domestic use of the U.S. Armed Forces. We've seen that. You saw it in the video. These guys are going down there. As you can see, we've got, I believe they're saying 1,000 Army soldiers and 500 Marines so far. You know, our Marines are probably really licking their chops down there. I don't know if I would want to get too much out of line. The one thing that I would wonder as we look at all this, and this is probably a very serious question, because you remember that our troops were hampered in Afghanistan and other areas across the globe with their silly little rules of engagement. You had to watch somebody shoot at you, and whenever you took your firearm to aim back at them, had they dropped the firearm, then you couldn't shoot at them. Even though you saw them shoot at you, you knew who they were, and you're looking at that AK-47 at their feet, you still couldn't take their shot. Thank you, Barack Obama, for that rule of engagement. I wonder what the current rules of engagement are going to be on the border. I searched at a kind of a mid-level. I really didn't dig too deep because I was working on some of the other stuff. I'm curious if you guys have seen what the rules of engagement are. I think that we're probably going to see, I mean, if we're bringing these guys down there on the border and we're not utilizing even National Guard for that matter, I think that there's probably going to be a little bit of a difference here. And they may be in the process, well, with Hegseth being confirmed, I guess, yesterday, maybe they're going to be in the process of developing those rules of engagement, and we may see something on that southern border. Remember, the cartels are being designated as a terrorist organization. More on that in a minute. So that's going to definitely require a certain amount of engagement if something does pop off. Now, this one kind of cracked me up. Customs and Border Protection had been scheduling appointments that were supposed to take place at ports of entry for a few weeks, even after January 20. So they were scheduling appointments for the Trump administration. The new administration's order canceled all of those appointments, stranding about 30,000 people inside Mexico. Look, they stranded themselves. We didn't strand them. They stranded themselves in Mexico. I gotta laugh at that one. Oh, poor you. You're stranded? We told you this was gonna happen, dummy. And kind of on the heels of that same thing, Border Patrol 1 appointments were canceled. An executive order abruptly halted, quote, asylum seekers' use of the Border Patrol 1 smartphone app that over 2 years allowed over 936. That's a mind-boggling number. How do you let in using an app that fast-tracks you over or close to 1 million people? And we know it's over 1 million, but still, I'm just pointing out the numbers they're using in this liberal article. Since July in 2023, appointments had averaged about 1,450 a day. Now, guys, remember, these are not people coming here legally. These are not people coming here and filling out the necessary and proper paperwork to get to become a U.S. citizen legally. These are people that the Biden administration developed an app to fast-track illegal entry. Illegal entry. The Biden administration used yours and my tax dollars to develop an app for an iPhone, and these people got smartphones. Ooh, they're really, really hurting. They got to come here, but they got smartphones and service. They're using these smartphones and that free service that likely our tax dollars, more than likely a Catholic organization that the government is funding. Funny how that works, to tie into this app and tell you how you can illegally enter the country a little bit faster. So we're making it easier to commit a crime using taxpayer money. Incredible. But as you can see, everybody's sitting on their government-funded, American government-funded smartphones wondering, where's the app? I can't find the app. Hey, S.A., the app is not here. Continuing on, shutdown of processing migrants and asylum seekers. I hate that they use that word without putting it in quotes because they're not asylum seekers. An executive order has suspended the entry of undocumented migrants to the United States under any circumstance. So the app would not have done you any good anyway, because whether you're using the app to fast track your illegal entry into this country or whether you're jumping a fence or running across the border, you are no longer allowed here. We actually mean it this time. Remain in Mexico restarts. This was a Trump policy that they used back, obviously, during the Trump administration. That was immediately rescinded by the Biden administration to encourage people to illegally enter the United States. The same executive order that halts that Border Patrol 1 restarts the Remain in Mexico program, which requires non-Mexican asylum seekers to await their U.S. hearing dates inside Mexican territory. Now, it's funny, a quick note about remaining inside Mexican territory. The Mexican government was perfectly fine with these illegal aliens coming in from Guatemala, Honduras, and China, Russia, everywhere else through the bottom southern border of Mexico. Now, what they did was they told them, you can enter our country if you're going to America illegally, but you're not staying here. The Mexican government did not want these people. So the Mexican government would police these tracks of people entering into their southern border, going up through the country as long as they went into America illegally. Again, we don't want you here. Make sure you're going to America. So they were continuing to do that. They don't want them there because they know, again, Trump was right. They're not sending their best and their brightest. The crazy thing was Mexico at first, and they're not real happy about accepting them now, they don't even want their own Mexican people back. You know why? Because again, they ain't sending their best. They're opening up prisons like some of these South American people are doing, and they're sending their garbage. They're sending people who are a burden to their own country. They're either a burden in prison or they're a burden because they're criminals. They're realizing that America under the Biden administration is so stupid they'll take anybody illegally because it doesn't matter. Why would you even, I mean, seriously, if we could find an accompanying country, even if it was down in South America, and just freely ship those people there and create a new app to go to El Salvador or wherever else, what a beautiful thing that would be. Now we don't have that burden in our prisons. We don't have that burden on our streets and our neighborhoods. A beautiful thing. So I kind of don't blame them for doing that. I kind of don't blame them for saying, we don't want you here. I'll help you get somewhere else. Part of their mass deportation process was actually pretty cool. An executive order mandated the creation of Homeland Security task forces to manage interior deportation operations in all 50 states. The interesting thing there is going to be that states that are going to want to oppose this, like Illinois, they've already come out and said they were not going to, like Chicago, they're going to start putting people in jail. In fact, Tom Homan has already said, that's the border czar that got to work really early on this, has already said that the governor of Arizona has already been very defiant in what she said. Now, she hasn't done anything, but she's been defiant in her statements that she's not going to partake in any of this mass deportation or the processes that Trump is implementing. Tom Homan said, we're going to put her in jail. I think Tom Homan will put her in jail. If she is ignoring a federal law that is in place, plus it's meant to protect our country and the American citizens in this country, and she defies that just because it's the cool thing to do on the left, I do believe they will put her in jail. Now, it's going to be a ceremonial jail visit. She's not going to be put in the government-funded Crocs and an orange jumpsuit, and she's not going to be in Gen Pop. But I do think they will put her in there and give her the same little treatment that they were trying to get Trump to do when Trump went to jail. So maybe it hurts her reputation or whatever. But still, if nothing else, the ceremonial sight of seeing that and the embarrassment that's going to ensue, and then force her on top of that, we'll keep putting you right back in jail again if you want to keep defying us. At some point, she's going to cooperate. Again, she's trying to act tough now. She will cooperate. She absolutely will. This is the numbers. Over 1 million of these criminal elements that are here illegal. Again, the first run of these mass deportations are going to be people who are dangerous criminals that, again, these other countries were happy to send our way. Look at these numbers. Honduras, over 250,000. Guatemala, same. Mexico, same. El Salvador, 200,000. Look at these other countries. Look how many people are coming illegally from these other countries that we've identified as being dangerous, illegal aliens here in this country. Nicaragua, Cuba, Brazil, China, Haiti, Ecuador. We knew all this, but to see this on paper, and these are people they have already identified, they have to go. This is not some random number that they've chosen and said, we want to fill this quota. These are the amount of people that they know are here illegally and pose some sort of threat to the United States citizens and our borders. Now, this is my favorite. Placing criminal groups on the terrorist list. An executive order calls for adding Mexican cartels and Latin gangs to the State Department's listing of foreign terrorist organizations. Now, my first question is, what took you so long? Even Trump, like in his first term, what took you so long? I'm glad you're doing it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not faulting you for putting this in place now. And maybe this was an afterthought when you had the 4 years to think about this, but what a beautiful thing. Why wouldn't we take them off of there? Why wouldn't we put them on there, rather? What's the purpose of designating groups that are harmful to the American people, whether these people are flying airplanes into the World Trade Center or killing off hundreds of thousands of our children with illegal drugs coming across the border, again, illegally. What's the difference? They're doing this purposely. But one of the cool things about it is this order also is going to do something a little bit different. It's going to go a step further than deporting the ones that are already here. Trump's executive order allows deportation of foreign Hamas supporters. You understand what that means. It's not just taking an illegal alien. Trump is setting this up to get rid of people who are causing problems, and they're espousing allegiance to other countries and suggesting or attempting to harm Americans within our borders and the country itself. According to a key section in the order released by the new administration, to protect Americans, the United States must be vigilant during the visa issuance process to ensure that those aliens approved for admission into the United States do not intend to harm Americans or our national interests. More importantly, the United States must identify them before their admission or entry into the United States. Quote, the United States must ensure that admitted aliens and aliens otherwise already present in the United States do not bear hostile attitudes toward its citizens, culture, government, institutions, or founding principles, and do not advocate for aid or support designated foreign terrorists and other threats to our national security. That's very important that they put that in there regarding the danger or hostile actions towards citizens, culture, government, institution, or founding principles. That's super important right there, because what they're saying is assimilate. Assimilate. We have American ways in this country. I don't care if you want to eat sushi on Thursday and if you want to eat some kind of other cool meal. I don't care if you want to kneel and face the east whenever you pray. But don't make America your third world dump when you come here. And certainly don't suggest that we should burn it to the ground and that all Americans are bad and you wish harm on our country. Guess what? We always hear the phrase, go back. Now you're going to go back. You're not going to be able to say those things now. Now, granted, civil rights attorneys will get involved. I understand all that. Guess what? You know how those January 6 people were treated? How about we start treating people who truly want death to America like those J6 people were? They sat there and sat in those prisons and rotted for 3.5, 4 years, right? Some of them were actually picked up after the election, after Trump won. They still continued to pick people up, J6 people, and put them in these federal gulags. How about we start putting people who are burning American flags in the cities of America in those same gulags and let them fight those civil rights attorneys at that point and see if they're okay with that. Or, you know what, like this order says, just deport them. Get them out of here.
I don't understand the point that you're making.
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's over.